The ballroom of the Ashford Royal Hotel shimmered beneath thousands of crystal lights. Every table was covered with white roses imported from Europe. Every guest wore designer clothing worth more than most families earned in a year, and dozens of television cameras waited to capture what newspapers were already calling the wedding of the decade. Ethan Ashford, the 34-year-old billionaire who had built one of the world's largest technology companies, stood confidently beside his beautiful fiancée, Vanessa Collins. She was admired for her elegance, envied for her beauty, and feared for her sharp tongue. To everyone watching, they looked like the perfect couple. But hidden among the smiling waiters and perfectly dressed servants was a quiet young maid named Lily Carter, a 26-year-old orphan who had spent most of her life believing she was invisible. She had survived foster homes, hunger, loneliness, and years of hard work. No one at the party knew that behind her calm smile was a past filled with unimaginable pain, and one secret that would soon bring the entire celebration to a halt. As the orchestra played softly and guests raised their glasses for the engagement toast, Lily carefully carried a silver tray filled with sparkling drinks through the crowded ballroom. She moved slowly, trying not to disturb anyone. Suddenly, one impatient guest stepped backward without looking. Lily stumbled slightly, and a single drop of champagne splashed onto the edge of Vanessa's dazzling white designer gown. It was barely noticeable. Most people would have laughed it off. Vanessa did not. Her smile disappeared instantly. The music seemed to fade as she turned toward Lily with eyes burning in anger. "Do you have any idea how much this dress costs?" she shouted loudly enough for every guest to hear. Conversation stopped. Cameras turned. Several people pulled out their phones, sensing drama. Lily immediately apologized, bowing her head. "I'm so sorry, ma'am. It was an accident." But Vanessa wasn't interested in apologies. She grabbed Lily by the arm, accusing her of trying to ruin the evening out of jealousy. Some guests exchanged uncomfortable glances, while others smirked, expecting entertainment rather than compassion. Vanessa's temper exploded. She seized the maid's uniform with both hands and tore the fabric across Lily's shoulder. Gasps echoed through the ballroom. Lily instinctively tried to cover herself, but it was too late. Stretching across her shoulder blade was a long, pale scar unlike any ordinary injury. Before anyone could react, Ethan looked up, and everything changed. His face drained of color. His breathing became uneven. The scar was identical to one he had never forgotten. 22 years earlier, when he was only 12 years old, a devastating fire had trapped him inside his family's old mansion. Smoke filled every room. He remembered crying for help, believing he would die. Then a brave little girl had wrapped a wet blanket around him, pushed him through the flames, and carried him towards safety before the roof collapsed. She disappeared in the chaos, and everyone believed she had perished in the fire. Ethan had spent years searching for her, but every lead ended in disappointment. Now the impossible stood before him in the form of a frightened maid whose shoulder carried the exact scar left by that terrible night. The champagne glass slipped from Ethan's hand and shattered across the marble floor. Every head turned toward him. Vanessa frowned, assuming he was upset about her dress. Instead, Ethan slowly walked toward Lily, unable to take his eyes off the scar. "Where did you get that?" he asked quietly. His voice trembled so much that even the reporters stopped recording for a moment. Lily looked confused. "I've had it since I was a child," she whispered. "I don't remember much. I was told I survived a fire, but I lost my family that night." Ethan's heart pounded louder than the orchestra. Memories rushed back with startling clarity. The frightened little girl, the burning staircase, the promise he had made to himself that if he ever became successful, he would spend his life searching for his unknown hero. Tears filled his eyes. "Your name?" he asked. "Lily Carter," she replied. Ethan closed his eyes. He realized that fate had quietly brought the one person he had searched for into his own company years earlier, where she had been cleaning offices and serving guests while he walked past her without ever recognizing her. Vanessa interrupted impatiently. "Ethan, stop embarrassing yourself. She's obviously lying." Her harsh words echoed through the silent ballroom. Lily immediately shook her head. "I'm not asking for anything," she said softly. "I just want to keep my job." But Ethan no longer cared about the party, the cameras, or the guests. He asked his assistant to bring an old leather wallet from his office upstairs. Inside was a faded photograph he had carried for more than 2 decades. The picture showed a frightened boy standing beside a smiling little girl wearing a blue ribbon in her hair. Though the years had changed Lily's appearance, the scar and her gentle eyes matched perfectly. Guests crowded closer as Ethan held the photograph beside Lily. A wave of disbelief swept through the room. Reporters whispered excitedly. Several elderly relatives began crying. Just as the room struggled to absorb the revelation, an elderly man slowly stood from one of the back tables. It was Dr. Raymond Ellis, the retired physician who had served the Ashford family for decades. His hands trembled as he walked forward. "There is something I should have confessed years ago," he said. The ballroom fell completely silent. He admitted that after the fire, corrupt businessmen competing against Ethan's late father had discovered Lily was alive. Knowing Ethan's father intended to reward the girl who had saved his son with lifelong financial security and a place in the family, they bribed officials to erase every record of her identity. Lily was transferred from one orphanage to another under a different surname until all traces of her past disappeared. Dr. Ellis had remained silent out of fear for his own family. His confession stunned everyone. Several lawyers immediately confirmed that forgotten legal documents had recently been recovered during the renovation of the old mansion, supporting every word of his story. Vanessa refused to believe it. She accused Lily of manipulating Ethan for his fortune. But her accusations only made her appear more desperate. Ethan calmly looked at Vanessa and asked one simple question. If someone had saved your life as a child, would you repay them with humiliation? Vanessa could not answer. Instead, she demanded Ethan choose between her and the maid. The ballroom held its breath. Ethan slowly removed the diamond engagement ring from Vanessa's finger. "A marriage built on pride can never survive," he said quietly. "The woman standing before me risked everything when she had nothing. That kind of courage cannot be bought." Vanessa stood speechless as photographers captured the moment that would dominate headlines across the world. The next morning, every newspaper featured the same photograph, Lily standing with tears in her eyes as Ethan publicly thanked her before hundreds of witnesses. But the greatest surprise came a week later. Rather than offering Lily luxury or expensive gifts, Ethan asked her what she truly wanted. Her answer stunned everyone once again. "I don't want a mansion," she said. "I don't want sports cars or jewelry. I just don't want another child to grow up feeling forgotten." Inspired by her words, Ethan invested billions into creating the Ashford Hope Foundation, building schools, orphan care centers, libraries, and scholarships across the country. Lily became the foundation's director, personally visiting children who reminded her of herself. Her kindness spread far beyond anything money alone could accomplish. Years passed. The ballroom, where she had once been humiliated, hosted another grand celebration. This time, Lily entered through the front doors wearing a graceful evening gown, not because wealth had changed her, but because dignity had finally found the place it always deserved. The same guests who had laughed at her stood to applaud. Some approached with tears, apologizing for remaining silent when she had been mistreated. Lily accepted every apology with quiet grace. She had learned that forgiveness often heals wounds that revenge never can. As Ethan watched the applause, he glanced once more at the scar that had changed both their lives forever. What had once seemed like a mark of suffering had become the symbol of an extraordinary journey, a reminder that true worth is never measured by uniforms, titles, or wealth, but by the courage hidden inside the human heart. That single scar had exposed not only one woman's past, but also the character of everyone who had witnessed it. Some had laughed. Some had remained silent. A precious few had chosen compassion. And in the end, only compassion was remembered. Life has a remarkable way of revealing the truth when the time is right. The people the world overlooks today may be the very heroes history remembers tomorrow. Before judging someone by their clothes, job, or appearance, remember that every person carries a story you cannot see. Kindness costs nothing, but its rewards can last a lifetime. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who believes that compassion is the greatest wealth of all, and subscribe for more unforgettable stories that remind us humanity always shines brighter than pride.